What's up, everyone, and welcome. In this episode, we're going to talk about the NSA and CISA sharing VPN security documentation designed to help companies protect themselves against attackers, including nation-state sponsored hacker groups.
Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
Virtual private networks allow users to remotely connect to a corporate network via a secure tunnel. Through this tunnel, users can take advantage of the internal services and protections normally offered to on-site users, such as email or collaboration tools, sensitive document repositories, and perimeter firewalls and gateways. Because remote access VPN servers are entry points into protected networks, they are targets for adversaries. The National Security Agency, or NSA, and CISA have released the Cybersecurity Information Sheet, selecting and hardening standards-based remote access VPN solutions to address the potential security risks associated with using virtual private networks. Again, remote access VPN servers allow off-site users to tunnel into protected networks, making these entry points vulnerable to exploitation by malicious cyber actors. Exploitation of these devices can enable credential harvesting, remote code execution on the VPN device, cryptographic weakening of encrypted traffic sessions, hijacking of encrypted traffic sessions, arbitrary reads of sensitive data like configurations, credentials, keys from the device. The two agencies created the document to help organizations improve their defenses, particularly against attacks from nation-state adversaries, who in the past have exploited bugs in VPN systems to steal credentials, remotely execute code, weaken encrypted traffic's cryptography, hijack encrypted traffic sessions, and read sensitive data from the device. The document provides direction for selecting VPN solutions that follow the industry standards and the best practices for using strong authentication credentials. Recommendations include avoid selecting non-standard VPN solutions, including a class of products referred to as Secure Sockets Layer or Transport Layer Security VPNs. These products include custom, non-standard features to tunnel traffic via TLS. Using custom or non-standard features creates additional risk exposure, even when the TLS parameters used by the products are secure. NSA and CISA recommend standardized Internet Key Exchange, or Internet Protocol Security, known as IKE and IPsec, VPNs that have been validated against standardized security requirements for VPNs. Organizations should also choose products from reputable vendors with a history of acting quickly to patch known vulnerabilities.
I'm gonna tell you something right now, man. That there's a pretty smart little old dog in there.
Carefully read vendor documentation to ensure potential products support IKE and IPsec VPNs. Documentation for some products may not provide comprehensive information about the protocols they support when establishing VPN tunnels. Avoid products that do not clearly identify the standards they follow, or they may claim to use proprietary methods to establish VPNs. Next up, identify whether the product uses SSL or TLS in a proprietary or non-standards-based VPN protocol when unable to establish an IKE or IPsec VPN. So they might use SSL or TLS as a fallback. You want to avoid those. Ensure that potential products use FIPS, validated cryptographic modules, and can be configured to use only approved cryptographic algorithms. Check that a product supports strong authentication credentials and protocols and disables weak credentials and protocols by default. So you don't want to have to default have them on and manually have to turn them off. The weak ones should be off by default. Research and select a vendor with a proven track record of supporting products via regular software updates and quickly remediating known vulnerabilities. Now, this doesn't let you off the hook, as I'll explain a little later, but this is a great standard to have, or a great point to keep in mind when selecting your vendor. You want somebody who's responsive. Request and validate a product software bill of materials, so the risk of the underlying software components can be adjudicated. Now, Adjudicate's a big word, but what this means is you want to check the stuff that's jammed into the software to make sure you understand what other code, it could be some open source code or maybe some proprietary code, what other code is running this software. So these companies, they'll build a piece of software and slap it in a hardware, but it's not all their code. Oftentimes they'll use open source products, stuff it in there, and then you'll have this finished product of theirs that's built up of components that are taken from sort of off the shelf or other open source. Now that open source stuff you need to know about.
Mighty cold, stranger.
Take it off.
Y'all don't want me to catch a cold, do you? Yes, it does.
You want to ensure the product has a robust method to validate the integrity of its own code and regularly perform code validation. Ensure the product includes protections against intrusions such as the use of signed binaries or firmware images, a secure boot process that verifies boot code before it runs, integrity validation of runtime processes and files. Now, as a general rule for hardening the VPN, the two agencies recommend reducing the service attack surface by configuring strong cryptography and authentication, like configuring the VPN to use ICANN IPsec and disable SSL and TLS VPN functionality, and their fallback options if feasible. You want to run only strictly necessary features. So by default, some of these appliances or some of these softwares may come with a bunch of features that are enabled just in case you need them. But if you don't need them, shut them off, disable them. You want to protect and monitor access to and from the VPN, for example, with deployed intrusion prevention systems or the use of WAFs. You want to immediately apply patches and updates to mitigate known vulnerabilities that are often rapidly exploited, sometimes within less than 24 hours. Exploiting remote access VPNs can become a gateway to large-scale compromise, said Rob Joyce, Director of Cybersecurity at NSA, in an email to Bleeping Computer. Releasing this document comes after threat actors, both financially motivated and state-supported, have focused lately on exploiting VPN vulnerabilities to achieve their goal. The attack vector has attracted government-backed hackers who leverage vulnerabilities in VPN devices to penetrate networks belonging to governmental organizations and defense firms in various countries. Earlier this year, in April, cybersecurity company FireEye published a report about two state-backed groups, likely Chinese, that used a zero-day vulnerability in the Pulse Connect secure VPN appliance in attacks focused on U.S. defense industrial-based networks. Around the same time, the NSA and CISA warned that hackers working for the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, and known as AF-29, Cozy Bear, and the Dukes, had exploited and continued to exploit successfully bugs in Fortinet and Pulse Secure VPN devices for initial access onto a target network. An advisory from the UK National Cybersecurity Centre in May added appliances from Cisco and other network gear vendors to the list of products with vulnerabilities that SVR hackers exploited. Ransomware gangs have also shown a massive interest in these type of network access vectors. At least 7 operations have exploited bugs in VPN solutions for Fortinet, Ivanti, and SonicWall. Cringe, Ragnar Locker, Black Kingdom, Hello Kitty, Lockbit, Revel, and Conti ransomware operations have breached dozens of companies by exploiting VPN security issues. Now, I've done a number of episodes, for example, on Ragnar Locker, or Hello Kitty, Lockbit, Revel, and Conti ransomware. I highly suggest you watch them, or at least read up more information about them so you're familiar with their tactics. So, what did we learn? Every layer of our networks are a potential entry point for malicious actors to gain, maintain, and exploit access to our systems. Gaining access to the VPN gives an attacker access to the entire fort. Remember, they can weaken the cryptographic implementation on the VPN, and then they can intercept all traffic and read it and gain access to that data. So it's akin to them having access to the fort's secret door. Once inside, they can rape and pillage our systems. What else? One of the key takeaways here is that companies need to really know what they're using and what they're buying. Not just the company name and that they made $5 billion last year selling this product, so it's got to work, right? But what are the ingredients in their soup? What other code sources did they use to build their better mousetrap? And after we know that, we really need to stay on top of those code sources to be aware of any new vulnerabilities, or maybe old ones that still have not been patched. Just saying, they know what they're doing, so, they're patching any bug or vulnerability right away, is not a solution to keeping your 1 million, 10 million, 50 million, 5 billion, trillion dollar company safe. Just look at Kaseya. Just look at Apple in recent news, where a researcher had alerted them to 4 zero-day bugs, and they fixed one of them, but the other 3 were still exploitable. Now, imagine if your car did not have or give any feedback like, checked engine or oil change, or it's time to get your car serviced. If all those lights and alarm bells and whistles did not exist, there'd be a lot more cars probably sitting on the side of the road broken down. So these are the types of monitoring systems we need for our tech that alert us when a particular piece of code that's part of a product we purchased may have a vulnerability. So we have to document all of that. We have to integrate monitoring systems that monitor the CVEs or MITRE or whatever in order to be alerted as soon as possible that, hey, there's now a vulnerability for this particular piece of code that's part of this product, or part of maybe 5 different products that we have, so that we can react much quicker. With that, I say thanks again for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
Don't forget to ride. Farewell.